If your child is struggling to read, one of the hardest questions is knowing whether to give it more time or whether it's time to be concerned. And the answer really depends on the age of your child, what they're struggling with, and whether those skills are improving at the appropriate pace. I'm Brett Kay with the Edvocator, and I have more than 20 years of experience across several areas of elementary education. Reading development can be frustrating for parents because children don't all learn on the exact same schedule. Kindergarten is probably the best example. At the beginning of kindergarten, a child who has trouble hearing the first sound in a word may simply need more instruction and practice. And when I say hearing sounds, I don't mean looking at letters and sounding out a word. Before a child can sound out a word, like map, they need to be able to hear that map is made up of 3 separate sounds, a, If they can't hear the sounds in spoken words, connecting those sounds to letters and using them to read becomes much harder. Putting letters in front of them doesn't magically fix the problem. The letters aren't carrying tiny instruction manuals. As kindergarten moves along, we expect those early sound skills to start developing. If we're halfway through kindergarten and a child is still having great difficulty hearing the sounds in words, I'm paying closer attention. At the same time, I have worked with kindergartners who seem to struggle for months and then voila, something clicks near the end of the year. That's why one difficult skill by itself doesn't necessarily tell us very much. The pattern does. Is your child struggling with several early reading skills? Are the same difficulties continuing month after month? And most importantly, are they making enough progress for the amount of instruction and practice they've received? That's a very different question from simply asking, are they making progress? Most children will make some progress. The concern is when that progress is too slow, too limited, or not enough to close the gap. If you're seeing some of these concerns, I created a free Reading Struggles resource to help you organize what you're noticing before you talk with the teacher. You can find it at theedvocator.com/resources. By first grade, those questions become much more important. If a first grader is still having significant difficulty hearing the beginning, middle, or ending sounds in simple words, that's something I would want a parent to ask about. Those sound skills are part of the foundation children need for both reading and writing. And by the middle of first grade, if reading is still extremely slow, effortful, basic words continue to be difficult, or your child doesn't seem to be making enough progress, I would no longer be comfortable simply saying, let's wait and give it a little more time, because at some point, give it more time starts feeling a little like a plan to simply keep giving it more time. Have you ever been told that your child just needs to mature or that reading will eventually click? Tell me in the comments what you were told and whether anyone explained what they were actually watching for while you waited. There's another clue parents sometimes overlook because it doesn't look exactly like a reading problem. Comprehension. If you read an age-appropriate story aloud and your child consistently has difficulty understanding what happened, answering simple questions about it, or retelling the important parts, that's worth mentioning too. And age-appropriate matters here. If I read Harry Potter to a kindergartner and then start firing comprehension questions at them, I may be the one who needs an intervention. But if the language and ideas are appropriate for your child's age and understanding is consistently difficult, that gives the teacher another important piece of information. And here's the piece I want parents to remember. You don't have to decide whether your child has dyslexia or some other reading disability. That's not your job. Your job is to notice the patterns and ask questions when something doesn't seem to be progressing at an appropriate pace. Instead of asking only, is my child behind? Try asking the teacher, what specific skills are causing trouble for my child? Is my child making enough progress for the amount of instruction they've received? And what are you planning next if that progress doesn't happen? Those questions give you much more useful information than simply being told that your child is below grade level. Children absolutely develop at different rates, but children develop at different rates shouldn't become a reason to ignore a persistent pattern of difficulty. Early intervention is key to long-term success. If you've been wondering whether what you're seeing is something to watch for or something to act on, download the free Reading Struggles resource at theedvocator.com/resources. I'm Brett Kay with The Edvocator, and I'll see you in the next video. Bye-bye.